Coming up on Mountain News Weekend Edition, today top White House coronavirus expert Dr. Deborah Birx met with Kentucky leaders. Find out what advice she gave Governor Beshear.
Dedicated to Eastern and Southern Kentucky, this is WYMT Mountain News Weekend Edition.
Good evening, I'm Madison Pergram. There is no end in sight to the pandemic. For a fifth straight day, more than 1,000 people in this country died from the virus, and it could get worse. Leanna Lucino has more.
A country divided along COVID lines. People packed into band party buses in Nashville as Tennessee had its deadliest week and moves closer to 100,000 cases.
You're wearing a swastika.
In Minnesota, an angry confrontation after a couple shows up at a Walmart wearing masks with swastikas. Walmart banned them for a year. And in Arkansas, where hospitalizations hit a new single-day record and anti-mask march.
The government is here to protect our Constitution, not to protect our health.
The pandemic surging in Florida, second in cases only to California, with more than 400,000.
I'm not going to wear a mask to make somebody else feel comfortable.
In Texas, thousands fighting for their lives in hospitals as bar owners struggle to keep their businesses alive.
We can either fight this thing with everything that we have or go out like pathetic losers.
The West is getting worse. California leads the country in infections, and in Arizona, ICU beds are almost 90% full. Traveling ICU Dr. Luis Rosario in Phoenix.
We've lost a lot of young people.
No pre-existing conditions.
Young people with no pre-existing conditions.
One of those healthy young people, a 40-year-old nurse who worked right there in the ICU.
I had to put him on a breathing machine, screaming his wife's name, and the last words he heard was from me, telling him that we were going to take good care of him. And unfortunately, he died.
Nationwide, many people in ICUs are Latino and essential workers. That's a group that California's governor is trying to protect with a series of new measures that include temporary housing for people who become infected to be able to quarantine safely. Lilia Luciano, CBS News, Los Angeles.
Now, Governor Andy Beshear provided updated COVID-19 numbers this afternoon. The governor announced 316 new cases of COVID-19. There are now 27,079 coronavirus cases in Kentucky. There were 4 new deaths today, and the death toll stands at 700. For more information on COVID-19 in Kentucky, go to our website at WYMT.com. And local health departments across eastern Kentucky gave updates on COVID-19 in the region today. The Pike County Health Department confirmed 26 new cases of COVID-19. The county passed the 200 mark with now 211 confirmed cases. The Bell County Health Department confirmed 5 new cases. They now sit at 228 total coronavirus cases. And the Harlan County Health Department confirmed 5 new cases today as well. And the county now has 185 total COVID-19 cases. And today, top White House coronavirus expert Dr. Deborah Birx met with Kentucky leaders. Kentucky is one of 5 states she's visiting that has a rising positivity rate and number of cases. Dr. Birx says the spread of COVID-19 cases we are seeing now is at the household level. She agreed with the 10-person gathering limit, saying now is the time to stop attending large social gatherings.
We have a real call to action for every Kentuckian to wear their mask and to protect those in their families by not going to large social gatherings. And if they do, to make sure they're protecting those in their families that have substantial vulnerabilities that we know are related to obesity, hypertension, diabetes, and chronic lung, heart, or kidney disease.
Now, Governor Beshear says we should expect to see another high number of cases tomorrow, and he will be announcing additional steps taken based on Dr. Birx's recommendations. And as of this weekend, there are now 836 new cases of COVID-19, a number Governor Andy Beshear says calls for action. One of those actions was asking churches to scale back in-person services. Now, while some churches continue to worship online, some are continuing in person, like Petrie Baptist Church in Hazard. To make accommodations, they do have 2 services, one at 9 a.m. and one at 11 to ensure social distancing standards are met, along with hand sanitizer and mask available. Ronnie Pennington, pastor of the church, says they are continuing to service not to defy orders, but to offer some peace in these difficult times.
And these people that say we don't need to meet, then tell them to stay home. Tell them not to go to work. Tell them to stay out of Walmart. Tell them to stay out of the restaurants. Tell them to stay off the lake. I mean, I could go on and on and on and on, but I'm not trying to be negative. I'm just saying, in the midst of all this negatives, we need the positive.
Inside the church, every other pew is blocked with God at Work tape and X's marked 6 feet apart for those who want to socialize, and everyone is required to wear a mask. Pennington also said Sunday school was canceled until further notice because social distancing was not possible. And like we're talking about, Governor Beshear says as COVID-19 cases continue to surge in Kentucky, he recommends this week churches should hold off on in-person services. One church in Lexington got creative to allow its congregation to gather while still social distancing. Grace Feinerman shows us how.
You've got health problems? See? Where's God now?
A church on the lawn, a congregation filled with umbrellas and towels, all to keep social distancing in place.
At least be 6 feet apart, but if you're more comfortable 10 feet apart or 100 feet apart, we have enough space out there.
David Prince, Ashland Avenue Baptist Church pastor, says it's important for his congregation to come together.
It's a weekly family reunion that is very necessary in the life of the believer to remember who we are as a people.
Well, Prince says the church is sticking to guidelines. He doesn't support all of the governor's decisions.
I don't think that the governor ought to focus on churches as a single group, but rather groups. If there are recommendations related to group size and group dynamics, that's one thing. But to say, I want churches to do X, Y, or Z is to single them out, I think, in a very unhealthy way. And that's happened a few times.
Prince says he gives government officials the benefit of the doubt. He shares he thinks Governor Beshear is doing his best to keep everyone healthy. Still, Prince says the Attorney General and courts keeping the governor's recommendations in check is a good thing.
Remedying some of the problematic, what we would see as problematic things that the governor has said and done.
As for how his church will meet, Prince says it's about being flexible and creative, bringing people together, but with guidelines in check. In Lexington, Grace Feinerman, WKYT.
And a few more of us saw some of those showers and thunderstorms out there on Sunday afternoon than we did on Saturday. Take a look from our UVA Wise camera. While they may not have gotten in on some of that rainfall, you can actually see some of those thunderheads building in the distance there as the sun began to set. Pretty cool shot there. We did see quite a bit of heavy rain if you did find yourself under one of those thunderstorms. In fact, a flash flood warning continues for parts of Harlan and Letcher counties this evening. And was zooming in near the town of Cumberland, you see that yellow area had nearly 2.5 inches of rain, but the Cumberland City Police Department earlier reported multiple city streets were closed due to flooding and that a police cruiser had been flooded out. That area saw in particular a little over 1 inch of rain and then 2.5 just north of there. I'll have more information on more rainfall coming up to start your week in just a little bit. Madison?
Thank you, Evan. Well, protests continue to rage on in Louisville as a result of Brianna Taylor's death. Jerica Valterra is there and has more on what the protesters are demanding.
7 days without any actual food. These protesters are committed to their pledge. 135 days after Brianna Taylor died, and still no food until the officers involved are arrested.
Nothing has been done. The 3 cops responsible for her murder still walk free as white men who can get away with the murder of a black woman in our community.
The hunger strikers say they're only allowed to drink water and take supplements, but still, they say they found a way to feed off of justice.
Unless the news coming down this week is termination or indictment of the 3 officers involved in the killing of Brianna Taylor, it will not impact our strike or pursuit of justice.
They've been live streaming their journey through their Facebook page multiple times a day, every day, reminding people what their mission is.
Words when we see your action. We have been waiting for 4 months for answers. 4 months for accountability.
The hunger strikers group say that they have not heard from any local officials about their strike. In Louisville, Jerica Valtierra, Wave 3 News.
Now, another summer festival was canceled due to COVID-19 concerns. With the spike of COVID-19 cases in our area, leaders with the Manchester Music Festival decided to cancel this year's event. Before the festival was canceled, Manchester Music Fest President Tim Parks told us they had plans in place to make sure festival goers were practicing social distancing and wearing masks. They even had 85 volunteers to help out with cleaning and disinfecting areas.
There was a lot of people on both sides of the spectrum. A lot of people wanted to have the show. A lot of people was afraid to have the show. So we just figured that by canceling now, we would keep ourselves from having a lot of heartache and sleepless nights worrying about it. There's a lot of people afraid, and there is a real virus out there. So out of respect and for those people, we decided it was the best move to make.
Now, the festival was planned to take place on August 27th through the 29th. Leaders say they will come back better than ever next year. And those worried about available parking in downtown Hazard may not have those fears for much longer. Mayor Happy Mobilina announcing the city's plan to restripe Main Street with diagonal parking spaces stretching from the foundation for Appalachian Kentucky to First Baptist Church. While the project has been in the making for some time, Mobilini says that there was no opposition.
We're going to do this first section probably this week from the foundation up to the old First Federal building and see how that goes. And then when we have the more money, we'll clear coat the rest of the street and then do the rest of it. No, pretty much I think everybody's on board with it. I know all the commission are, and we haven't had any complaints, from people downtown, but they haven't seen it yet either. But we're going to try to do it this week, so it's going to happen.
Mobilini also says that he's looking forward to bringing a more lively atmosphere to downtown Hazard, hoping this will take them in the right direction. And it has been months since the death of Brianna Taylor. The case has sparked nationwide protests and still no charges have been filed in her death. A local community activist wants to make sure the fight for justice does not diminish. Shelby Smithson explains how he's using music to do that.
Rest in peace, Brianna Taylor. I go by the name of Divine Karama, and I just want to keep her name and her legacy alive the best way I know how.
An artist hoping to carry more than just a tune, Divine Karama is using his music to make sure people don't hit pause on the fight for justice for Brianna Taylor.
I've just kind of noticed that the energy for her case is kind of dissipated a little bit. So I was thinking of unique ways that I could continue keeping her name and case kind of in people's timelines.
It's called 16 Bars for Brianna. A new verse is dropped every day that charges are not filed against the officers involved in the no-knock warrant that led to her death. The raps focus on different elements of systemic racism, from gentrification to racial health care disparities.
I'm going to continue this until her killers are brought to justice. So whether that's 100 days, hopefully it's only a few more days, right? But however long it takes, that's a minimal sacrifice that I can make as an artist when you think about the ultimate sacrifice that she made.
Trying to get not the lyrics, but the message stuck in your head.
Just anything to use the art to keep her name alive. So that it inspires people to keep protesting, keep marching until justice is served.
In Lexington, Shelby Smithson, WKYT.
To listen to the new music released each day, we'll have the link to the music on SoundCloud on our website at WYMT.com. And coming up on Mountain News Weekend Edition, find out what impact Hurricanes Douglas and Hannah are having in Hawaii and Texas.
And calm and clear out there for most of us right now, but storm chances continue into the new work week. I'll have all the details on that coming up next.